Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Anchoring the Consciousness of Oneness World Summit. I'm Sarah Daves, co-host for this event, and today we're talking with Seo Kelleher on how to find power in divine feminine unification. Seo is an intuitive life and business coach who empowers women to move outside their comfort zones, manifest transformation, and play bigger. Right? She is the founder of Alpha Female Sisterhood, an online community where strong women can embrace their power and their spirituality and support one another. So she's also a psychic medium who understands that we are not separate from our connection with spirit. So thank you for joining us, Sia.
Thank you. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah. So you are a business coach and you're also a psychic medium, and you use those two tools to work with women to help them open their businesses and or create an amazing business. So, can you talk a little bit about how you help women take those steps to claim their personal power and succeed in business?
Yeah. Personal power, claim, and finding their purpose. We hear this a lot in our personal development world. And essentially what I really do is I help women figure out, what do you really want? And not because, including what other people say you should do, what you're really good at. People think when I say, what do you really want? They usually go outside, but then I help them really connect to their heart and say, no, 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 okay, those are all great, but what do you want? Why do you want it? And then let's do it. Once we figure out what you really want, let's do it. And there's usually things that are stopping us from doing it, right? So what do you want? Why do you want it? Awesome. Now let's do it. Then people are like, oh, no, like because of this, because of that. So then we start working on those little things that's holding them back. And I think, to me, that's what I do. So sometimes it comes in they're helping their business. Sometimes we meet with the intention of working on their business, but then we end up working on other stuff. Sometimes we talk about like other stuff. She comes, I get a client come for healing and talk about other stuff, but then we end up getting some inspiration and really get connected to, like some inspiration and new ideas, and end up affecting the business. So that's like, to me, that's my, when you ask me to come, the oneness comes to that. It's like, it's all related, it's all connected.
Right.
That's what I help women like claim the personal power.
Awesome. Yeah, because there's no separation, right, between business, but you're still showing up as yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like we're fragmenting ourselves and becoming one day a professional businesswoman, and then the next day we're a mother. No, we're that all the time, and we're showing up fully. And that's what you're helping people do.
Yeah, oneness, the fact that we're all one and we're all teaspoon of God inside of us, or we're like, there are a lot of those, and even the concept of oneness is hard for, I think, many women, many people to really embrace sometimes, right? Because even in our professional world, just like you mentioned, there are a lot of separation. When I used to work at a corporate job, because that's my past life, I had certain persona. And when I were with friends, when I was with friends, I had different persona.
Right.
I was also a fitness instructor. So when I was teaching aerobic class, I had different persona. And all of those individual part of me are actually one, and they're supposed to be one. So there are a lot of separation in people's day to day, even now. That's just a role, but then also in our personality, the way we show up, our communication style, there are a lot of little separations. So I think my work is really help people connect to their own intuition and their own higher self. So really become authentically who they are, start pulling in those little separated part of us together. And then once you feel like you're kind of a whole oneness, then you could actually embrace the idea, okay, now I'm one with the universe, one with other people. So to me, it's like a little, you got to meet people where they are. But sometimes, to me, first step is I got to feel oneness within me first.
Yeah.
Then then I could open up to embrace, okay, now I'm the oneness with, you know, the
Right.
divine, the being.
Yes, yes, exactly. Like we're already whole, right? We're not recognizing it. And so when we move through life, there's little pieces that kind of split off because, well, for a lot of reasons, defense mechanisms or anything. And then when we do find ourselves and we embrace who we are, and that can come from a lot of different things. I mean, you can learn a lot, and find that wholeness, or you can suffer a lot and find that wholeness. So tell us, how did you find your wholeness?
I don't know. I feel like I'm still work in progress, but I guess, going through steps of finding my wholeness or my oneness actually led to finding out that I was psychic and, doing the work I do. So I would have never thought this is the kind of work I do 5 years ago. But I think I don't want to just go through the whole history of it, but my big thing came when there are maybe 2 or 3 milestones. One was I started meditation practice, and my purpose of starting a meditation practice at the time was to make more money, because I was reading a lot of, the success books and, reading up on internet and how to become these successful entrepreneurs. And the coach I was working with recommended it, and he also said, see, Oprah, like all the important people that are really successful have some type of a meditation practice. So if you want to go big, if you want to become really successful, you should start. So I was a little bit manipulated into that, but then that was a motivation at the time. Now looking back, I was being divinely guided to that practice, because that was going to open this. It was going to create that oneness. It was going to bring that oneness to me. But at the time, I didn't know. So I started meditation. It was really painful process, like all the monkey minds, to-do lists, all the challenges of meditation I went through. But then through that process, little by little, I started kind of connecting with my own intuition and my higher self. I was getting inspirations, new ideas, some validation, and it kind of got to a point where it's like, what's happening to me? Wow, like this was really cool. And that's how I kind of got started. And then it really expanded for me was when I lost someone, a loved one, when I experienced a loss, unexpected loss of loved one. My husband's mother passed away. And when she did, some people make joke about mother-in-law, but I really love my mother-in-law. So it was a very big loss. And so going through that grief process really expanded my spirituality. And then that's when I found out being able to connect with her and finding out that I was psychic medium in a very powerful way. So that really expanded. And then through that, so once I did that, and then I worked on my own healing. So I really focused on, and even the message from my mother-in-law after he passed away was, she said, rebuild your relationship with your own mother. So in order for me to do that, my mother-in-law who passed away in spirit form told me that, make amends with your mom. So then going through that process pushed me to doing a lot of inner child healing, working on really past trauma, forgiveness. So then that, once you do that, then you're really open. So I know I'm kind of rambling, but that's the thing, when usually people have some certain thing that we've been carrying with us. It's like maybe it's the wound from past, usually it's past trauma, whatever it might be, or a certain belief, and we're just carrying it. And it's like I was carrying this for 30 some years. And when you're able to do the healing and experience healing and let that go, put it down. And then you're like, this is like, it's no longer, like, what do I do now? Because you feel really free and light. So you hold on to the lesson learned from those experiences, but you no longer carry that pain with you. When you do that, that expansion of that space is where you can really like find wholeness and find authentic self, find inspiration. So those are the kind of work I try to do with my clients.
Yeah. Yeah. So in working with women and like, just give me like some, uh, or give us some idea of what that looks like. So you're sitting down and you're doing a one-on-one or something like that, or whatever it is with a woman who wants to expand her business. And then somehow you're getting some information and you're moved to say something that maybe that's not even on the radar or the scope of conversation. It can be a very personal thing. And then you move back and forth from business to healing, well, business growing or expansion to personal healing. And I'll just say from my own experience with you, we were having a business conversation and all of a sudden a message came in and then our paths, like shifted. We went down a whole new path.
Yeah.
And then, and then
That was like crazy.
it was so wild. And then I really did not even know that I could access the information too. But sitting with you and getting the validation of that, I never would have probably been able to figure that out. Like we all have access, right, to the spiritual realm.
Mm-hmm.
It's just if we're paying attention, and it can come so subtly that you may question it. And
Mm-hmm.
so for people, well, anyone really since we can all access this. Um, so what kind of advice would you give people when they're really wanting to tap into that place? Like I would almost say for me, being so new at it, I would almost say like find somebody like Seo that can help guide you through that. So to give you that validation, like, yes, that's what you're noticing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's what you're feeling. Yes, that's what you're hearing.
Yeah, like I guess if you're in a group where I use the term, I say I work with high performing business women who are woo curious. So if you're a little bit curious about woo woo stuff or spirituality or this oneness topic, if you're kind of in that curious stage, there are a lot of things you could do, right? You could read a book, you could do, but I think finding a mentor or some type of someone who could maybe a few steps ahead of you who've experienced that expansion and can guide you can be really helpful. So spiritual mentorship can be really powerful. But sometimes, if you're really in the beginning state, start meditating. That I say that all the time. It is really hard to do for some people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But meditation, just connecting with your own self, that could be step one, I think. More you kind of do that and know that you could actually have that quietness within yourself, even if it's just for 3 minutes, then I think you're ready to find a spiritual mentor or expand it. But if you're still unable to really connect with your own self for like 2 minutes, that's something we should start with.
Yeah.
Then find a mentor or find another peer who's going through the same thing, or that's when I started experiencing, figuring out what's happening to me, why am I hearing things, why am I seeing a vision, what is going on. I went on to internet and I did research, and I didn't realize there's a whole world out there of full of information. My guess is anybody who's watching this is already more experienced than I was at the time. So information is there. So you just need to open.
Yeah. Open yourself up to it. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so you said something really important there, like going within and just finding the wholeness. I mean, we talked about that earlier, but going within for information, like I heard my dad say just now, when self is known, all is known.
Ooh.
And that's something that he used to say a lot. And so that's a quote on my website. And it's something that I say a lot. I heard it a lot growing up as a child. And really, it is really about going within. And then once you connect with your inner self, and there's lots of those fragmented parts. You talked about the inner child healing that
Mm-hmm.
people can do to reconnect with their little selves and heal wounds that way. Um, so yeah, I mean, and that's where the knowingness of the oneness comes from, like you said. Yeah. So you've been doing shamanic work recently, and so can you talk a little bit about that and the type of work that you do with
So
women?
I do, yes, I do shamanic healing work. Um, while I was, more coaching work I did, and more coaching, more life coaching or business coaching, or more work I was doing with women really embrace their power, connect with their power, and play big, I realized there's a need for healing. Because a lot of things that were holding them back, and even for me, a lot of things that was holding them back was stuff from the past or stuff that our belief system. Usually, like I can't even categorize it because I do this. So usually it's a past trauma, whatever that happened, whether it's a childhood or in our early 20s or in teenage, some type of a past trauma. Worthiness, all related to I'm not worthy, not good enough, like all that variation of it. I'm not good enough, you're not good enough, this is not good enough. Related to lack, there is not enough to go around. Like I cannot invest, I cannot spend, I'm not worth. Like it's very related, but there is a lack. And then fear of abandonment. Maybe I was abandoned before, the fear of rejection. So that comes to people pleasing, lack of boundary. But all the, so usually it's past trauma, worthiness, lack, or abandonment. So those are some big things usually sitting on women's chest almost, and just feel like can't get past this. So I started referring clients to healers that could help them. And then I received, through my meditative practice, I received the guidance that you are a healer. You should help them with it. You shouldn't send them to another person. So then I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I should get trained to be a healer. So, I really did some research, some meditation, and what really healed my past trauma was working with another shamanic healer and doing what's called soul retrieval. So soul retrieval is a big part of shamanic healing, very energetic, magical thing. So what it does is we believe in shamanic healing when something traumatic happens, something painful happens, part of our soul breaks off and gets lost. So that's where the feeling of the separation and suffering happens. In soul retrieval, we journey into what we call underworld, but we journey into your past lifetime to the point of your original wounding, where that soul broke off. And as a shaman, we can go witness that what happened, gain any information that's going to help my client in present time, locate the broken part of soul, and then integrate it back into the energy, part of your soul. So that's a karmic part of your healing. So karmic, the past life. Some of them is present life. So shamanic healing includes like healing your present, like what happened in your past, what happened when you're 8 years old. We heal that, but then at the same time, there's a chance that there's a resonance or other trauma that happened many, many lifetimes ago in your soul level that has that resonance. So we go look at it. And so we do like current energy level and then karmic level. Hard to explain, but it's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, I'll attest to that.
Yeah, and I was a little bit skeptical about it too, because I'm like, I used to be so anti-spirituality in my 30s. Like before this, I'm telling you, I used to just reject anything that was spiritual before. So even as a psychic, sometimes I'm like, really, I'm gonna journey and see something and then bring your power animal and bring it into your soul. Really, like I used to be a little bit skeptical even when I was being trained. But then when you actually do it and experience that powerful effect on clients, I'm like, oh my God, this is so magical. So then you just do. Because at the end of the day, my intention is let me help my client release this. So in whatever way or form, if my client can benefit letting go of this trauma and be free, that's all it matters. So I had to let go of this little like, oh my God, this is so crazy. Oh my God, this is like so wild. This is so unbelievable. Like, is this really like, is she gonna is she gonna think I'm crazy if I tell her what I see? So there's a human part of me that think about that. Like when I go and see, and I was like, that was so crazy that I witnessed one, like I, saw your lifetime. What if I tell Sarah what I saw? And she says, that was the craziest thing. I just wasted my time and money. I never want to see you again. Like that part of me is still there, but then you still need to like let it go and just trust your divine guidance and just do your part. That's what you're meant to do.
Yeah, it's like you have to learn to laugh at the ego and say, aha, that's funny. So
Yeah.
I'm really going to go do this now. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because I'll say that it was incredibly powerful. And the synchronicities that happened
Yeah.
were...
And for you, because your father's spirit actually came and participated in the healing. So that was really magical.
I know.
Yeah, it was that, that's even more special. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I was sitting in my car before I came in, and I was telling some people this. So I was sitting in my car, it was pouring down rain. I was like, it reminds me right now of like moving through the pain to get to the other side. Like I've got to get out, and it wasn't just pouring. It was like
flooding. Yeah.
It was almost like hurricane or something. And I have to jump over this puddle, and then I have to run, and I'm going to be soaking wet when I come in. And so I was like, I'll just wait it out. I'm going to sit here and I'll wait till the rain stops. I'm 10 minutes early, no problem. So I wait, and the rain gets heavier and heavier. And then I'm like, okay, so this is my symbolism of like moving through the pain. So I'm just going to get out of the car and run. So I did. And as soon as I turned the corner to go into the building, there was no awning or anything. The rain stopped before I even got in the door. So I was like, okay, you passed, you can go in. So I come in, I'm like, ooh, shivering, I'm so cold. And I get in, and I see you, and you're like, hey, Sarah, your dad's here. And I was like, yeah, awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to hear when I walked in, So, and then the rest was just the most beautiful thing that I've ever experienced. But yes, you have to move. I mean, it wasn't, all like unicorns and lollipops. It was painful. Yeah. It was a painful experience. But on the other side of that was something so incredibly beautiful. And so it's like one of the things that I notice when you're talking with women about their traumas is, there's a victim identification with that. And so that becomes part of their identity. And so, and sometimes that's very hard to let go of, because without that trauma affecting my life forever, I will have to change who I am. And then my story will change. And then I don't have this, really what it is a crutch to lean on. So how do you help women overcome that? I mean, like it almost seems to me like you can't even use the logical mind. You must go that deep within, like when you're dealing with some pretty severe trauma like mine, which was past life stuff, like for many lifetimes. How do I access that without, someone with some psychic ability? So, like I am having these logical conversations and saying, yes, you're validated in all these ways, but you take it a step further for sure. And I guess what I'm asking you is, like, for those with victim identification, what is the way to help them move out of that space?
Yeah, I think coaches are all healers in some way. The definition of healers that I use, I say I'm a coach, I could be a spiritual mentor, I'm a psychic or a shaman, but at the end of the day, it's my soul level, I'm a healer. And healer as in, not in a sense that we fix what's broken, that's one aspect of healing, but I think the definition I identify as healer is I make you whole, where you feel like yourself. Mm-hmm. You feel powerful again. Like you feel like, oh, now I can do what I was going to do and live my life. So healer makes you feel like your own self, like authenticity, and then empowerment, like you all of a sudden know your power and ability, so you could actually do things.
Yeah. It's like removing everything that doesn't belong to you.
Yeah, like, so that's fixing it or clearing, and things. I had to come to terms with that I couldn't heal everyone. So, and we all need to come to terms with there's such thing as free will. And no matter how powerful healers might be, or no matter how amazing your higher self is and your practices and you get what kind of help, deep down, if you want to stay as a victim, there's nothing I can do.
Right.
So I actually had to come to terms with, may I be able to heal and help only those who are willing to, I can only help people who are willing to help. So I had to kind of let go of the expectation that it is my responsibility to help everyone. So if you identify as a victim and you like being a victim, I probably, I'll set them free until something happens where it's too painful to stay victim.
Yeah.
I trust that I can't convince you to let go of the victim mindset. Now, if you notice you tend to have a victim tendency and you want to let it go, then we can work. You know what I mean? If you identified it and you're ready to, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be, I want to let go. I don't want to be a victim and I want to be my authentic self. And then we can work. But then if you're secretly, even subconsciously holding on to this victim mindset, then I have to tell them I don't think we're ready to work or we're the right fit to work.
Right. Yeah. And so not everyone is a fit for sure, but yeah, so it's like in people who are not sure if they're watching this and they're thinking, I don't know if I'm in a victim mentality. Maybe one of the things that they can do is start thinking about repeating patterns.
Yeah. Or one good question you could ask is, what part of me wants to hold on to this? What part of me, if there is a part of me, sometimes people get like, no, no part of me, they get really mad. But I'm like, let's just assume, maybe you don't even realize, if there's a little tiny unknown part of you who wants to hold on to this.
Yeah.
Why? And what would that say? And usually it's going to be something like, I get to. I get to play small and don't have to go and, risk rejection. I get to, shift the responsibility to other people so I don't have to take owner. So usually, so I'll ask that question, if there was one part of you, little part of you that you don't even realize, then want to hold on to that victim mentality. Why? And what? And usually it will come with I guess, yeah, because I get to do this.
Yeah.
I get to stay, I get to do, I get to avoid. So usually it's that, and then we just help, then you might be able to uncover. To share some personal experience, I recently, so once you do clear big stuff, and then the little stuff that's all hidden under you that you didn't even realize start rising up. And then you get to clear those. And when you're able to clear those, it's magical, because these are the things you didn't even know you had in you. And then, once you clear the heavy stuff, the little stuff start rising up. And then when you start pulling those out and clear those and heal those, it's wonderful. And for me, that was fear of men. So what? I'm not fearful of men. I'm an alpha sister. I'm not afraid of men, but it grows up. I'm afraid of men. So then I had to do some clearing. And so I clear some karmic stuff, past life of being killed by a group of angry mob of men, all those things, shamanic stuff. But the underlying thing was I uncovered that without this fear and rage towards men, I won't be able to do the work I do effectively. That was my thing. So I had to uncover that. So when that came up, that I need to hold on to this part of me, because without it, I won't be able to do a good job in my work. And once it kind of came up, you're like, oh,
Wow.
then you can work on it. You know, then can you go, oh, this is a good stuff. Now we could clear that. But I
Yeah,
had even no idea that that was the reason I was holding on to that part.
that's a huge discovery. And
Mm-hmm.
on some level too, it's like thinking about like how long did you hold on to that? Lifetimes?
I don't know. I didn't even know I had it, right?
Yeah. So on some level, that belief was serving you until it wasn't, and then it was ready to come up and be
Mhm.
released, and so you let that happen.
Yeah.
So I guess how do you feel about that? When thinking about people who really don't know what's going on. Maybe their defense mechanisms are taking over. They're not really operating with their authentic selves. They may not have any idea, but the defense mechanisms are created for protection. And um, so I guess what I'm trying to say is like, in women or anyone who's listening to this, like instead of like turning within and self-judging, like, oh, why did I let myself go through this for so long? Or, why didn't I make that decision earlier? It's more of like, it served you in some way. Like you needed to go through this experience, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, you know, you talked about accessing, like information from spirit. Do you have spirit guides?
Mhm.
Yeah. And so, how did you discover them?
So when I first realized I had psychic gifts, I got mentors. So I have a psychic and a business coach. So she's a business coach, also a psychic. So she does exactly what I do, but very, very successful. Been doing it for a long time. So I had a mentorship with her for a couple of years. So during those times, she led this thing of, meet your spirit guides meditation. Um, and everyone, it was a group class, and everyone saw their spirit guide and then started talking about it. I saw nothing. I felt nothing. And I'm like, this person saw angel so and so, this person saw blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I didn't see anything. So I was really discouraged, but I kept up at it. I just kept, so there's this process of meditative practice. Everything energetic is intentional, so you just kind of and usually most magical things happen in meditation, in some type of meditative state, whether you're meditation, you're praying, you're singing or dancing, or whatever your form of reaching that state, like that magical place where you're still here but then you're open. um, and I connected with Archangel Michael, and I was like, I didn't even know Archangel Michael. It was more of, oh, this being, and then this understanding of this is Archangel Michael. I knew nothing about Archangel Michael. So after that meditation, I went and Googled Archangel Michael. And then it just showed like he's the, protective, like he's an angel of protection, help you really soul purpose. Like, so it came, I was like, oh, so that's how I knew Archangel Michael is one of my spirit guides. And then one by one, different spirit guides just made themselves known. My mother-in-law is one of my spirit guides. There are a couple of angels. The A very influential figure in my childhood that was very much like she was like a Gloria Steinem of South Korea when I was growing up,
Oh,
and
wow.
she was more of a grandmotherly figure to me, who passed when I was in junior high. So she's one of she was very much around women's empowerment and leading and embracing women's sisterhood. So she's definitely a spirit guide. So for me at least, they make themselves known. And then they come and go, right? Depending on where you are in your life, like they come and go. But then, true to the term of oneness, now I don't even identify them, right? Because it's oneness. My higher self, God, all the spirit guides, angels, or other shamanic dots that I'm starting to connect So if we could just accept that they're all one,
Yeah.
sometimes, when I receive a guidance, it's a guidance. Or when I receive a clarity, that's a clarity. I don't try to say, who did this come from? Because
Right.
that's like, why? Does it matter? Yeah.
Yeah, because you have that knowing and you can trust yourself. You've been
Hmm.
receiving this information long enough. Do you think that you could have like gotten there without differentiating who was talking to you, or
To me, differentiating who I was talking to made it fun,
yeah.
made it validating, made it exciting. So it allowed me to continue. It's like receiving a gold star sticker. So it allowed me to stay with the practice. So I think, yeah, there's a definitely benefit of learning, but then I don't want people to feel like, well, I didn't like, oh, how come I didn't meet with an angel? How come I don't have a team of guides that I can say they're my spirit guide? So and so has one, so and like I don't want people to start bringing those ego mind,
Sure.
you
Yeah,
know,
that makes sense.
spirit guides, or guidance team, whatever.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, do you think so what would you say to people who are asking well, I want to access my spirit guides, and how do I do that? You know, is it more of opening up to or engaging your imagination in order to figure out what that is, or what does that look like?
I think it's many different way. Your spirit guides depends on people, right? If you just do regular meditation, they might, but intentional meditative practice, if you have certain thing you're seeking, or I really want to work on my clarity on my business, and let's say you're meditating around that with that intention. When you actually have a little bit more intentional meditative practice, they might make themselves known. There are spirit guides, meet your spirit guide, meditate, guided journeys that you can do, which is what I did when I first started, because you're like, oh, when you actually have a guided journey, it does help you kind of get you to that place of that connect openness, and then sets the stage, and you kind of wait. Like the one that I do is usually you go to the stage, and then you kind of meditatively, I'm sitting on a bench, wait, there's an empty spot next to me, and I wait, and then there's a guide, and then you can see and communicate whatever that comes, so you have to trust it. But you could even YouTube, meet your spirit guides, meditation. There are plenty of those informations. Those could be really good one. Don't be discouraged if nothing happens first couple of times. That's what happened to me. Keep at it, and that was powerful for me. I guess those are my recommendations. If you really want to meet your spirit guides, meditate on your own intentionally, or try those guided meditations.
Yeah.
Or work with your spiritual mentor. Somebody like me or Sarah could take you on that meditative journey. Because it's all intentional, so we could actually do some meditative journey with you and kind of guide you through that process individually.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It's really good stuff, and it's so amazing too, and so fun to know that you can go on YouTube or just Google anything, and all of this wealth of information shows up about spirituality and tapping into what we can't see. And so, a lot of people are doing it. So this is the world is waking up. And so that to me is very exciting. And then in the idea of that, that's why I personally feel that anchoring the consciousness of oneness is so important, because, we are tapping into things that we don't understand in the physical reality. But I've talked with you a lot. And so I've heard you say, having that connection while staying grounded is really, really important. And so we did that meditation prior to this interview, and you got me very grounded, and I appreciate that. But in doing that in everyday practice, can you talk about the importance of maintaining both connections, and what happens if you don't, and then what happens if you do?
Yes, this is like my jam, right? Like the fact that you can be anchored to the earth, like you can stay grounded and be open to the massive, the spiritual being. Because there are two groups of people. One is they've always been really open, whether they realize it or not. So I call it open in upper chakras. So upper chakras, so these are the energy usually connects to the divine. So they're really powerful, they're really open, and they never learn to anchor themselves. The chances are they're flighty, they're described as flighty, all over the place, very creative and amazing, but then like you kind of need to catch them when they can. Like they have a lot of inspiration. They start a lot of new projects, but they don't really like make it real. So that's usually that one group. Another group is they're completely close ups. This was me before. So they're so anchored into the earth, and we're worried about money we make, the work we do, grades we get, people we touch and feel around us, and everything is based on, so we're too grounded and not open. So these are the people who are like always working, like don't, like just work, or life in this earthly life, and don't experience the intuition and magic and creativity and connection and deep healing that only happens when you're open. So usually they're more open in one side than the other. So I think my work usually is, if you tend to be really open and spiritual, like helping this person to get grounded, because then you live in this earth. So we say, we're all souls, in a human body. And our soul purpose is whatever. We are supposed to live our soul purpose in this world, in this earth where you could touch and feel and hear. So helping really open people get grounded so they can actually manifest the results or impact or whatever they do. So that's helping them grounded. And then these are the people who, the other group, helping them really tap in, open, experience. Because if they've been doing so well in earthly life, if they could tap into their higher self, the divine guidance, the intuition, and their magic, it's wonderful because they already know how to make things happen. All they need is that sprinkle of magic, and then you're good to go. So it's just a lot of work I do is helping people find that balance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, being too far on one end of the spectrum isn't serving you, and finding that middle ground. And
Just knowing your tendency, right? Because Sarah, you tend to be really open. I tend to be really grounded. So we know our, what's that right word? Like starting point, right? Your benchmark, like, so self-awareness, oh, this is what I tend to be. And then learning how to manage your energy to balance.
Yeah. And I think as coaches, we tend to attract the people who are most like us on some level. So, with your group, Alpha Female Sisterhood, like these incredibly strong women who are like really, are like so grounded and focused, and, and they really want to open up. So that's the woo curious. And then the people who tend to come to me are like, they're floating around, and and they don't have the boundaries, and they don't have that groundedness in the focus that they need in order to make things happen in tangible reality. And so I remember you saying to me one time, you're like, it's like open season for you. Your energy, you're so wide open that like, you're letting all this stuff in, and people are coming up and talking to me and saying these crazy thing.
That guy was crazy. Remember that guy was so random.
And it happens to me all the time. Like, I was like, I was sitting in a restaurant, some time ago, and this guy, I think he was homeless. He was mentally ill, I believe, walked by, and I'm sitting by the window, and he never looked at me, but I said, that guy's coming in to talk to me. My friend said, no, that's ridiculous. I was like, okay. So he comes right in, opens the door, walks right to our table, stands in front of me. I don't know what he's saying. Just like the guy, like we didn't really figure out what he was trying to articulate, and just starts talking. And then, so this is a kind of a thing that happens a lot. So Seo has helped me, like, find that boundary, build, not build the wall, but like, at least create some sort of boundary and energetic safety around me. So that's what she is very good at. So I really appreciate it.
You're
Um,
welcome.
yeah, but that was wild. And so I do understand what it's like to be floaty and out there and not be able to really get grounded in the work.
And it's kind of frustrating, right? And you may not identify that way. You might still feel like, no, I'm not really spiritual. But if you tend to have a million projects at once, you feel like, why is it so hard for me to get things done? Or everything that I do, I keep getting distracted. Like, it manifests in very everyday, real terms, but those are the signs of someone who's not grounded. I can't focus, constant distraction, like I feel like I'm just like so many balls in the world. And, I feel like I'm working, but I don't have any result to show for.
Right.
So you may not be like, oh, I'm floaty, but you may actually, there are signs of not being grounded.
Yeah.
Sarah, you have such a powerful energy, and because it's so open, like you're kind of you were a little extreme case, right? That you have such a powerful energy, but then it was like open season, so it was just attracting all and everyone. And because your energy is a healer, you're attracting people who are somewhat broken, who was needing that love and compassion. So in a way, it could have gotten a little dangerous for you in a way, because you don't have any like screening system.
Right.
Yeah, so you kind of need to not necessarily build a wall, but you needed a little energetic boundary to filter so you're safe energetically.
Right.
Those are the
Right.
things that, yeah.
Yeah. I
Well,
love
not everybody has that problem, probably.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I know it probably was a little extreme. Um, so, what advice can you give women or anyone, people in general today about like what they can do to help anchor the consciousness of oneness on the planet? And this is like by starting with themselves, So we were talking earlier about like when you go within, that's when you find the wholeness and then you recognize it in the world. It's not that we're creating it outside. We're just becoming aware of it, of all that is. So what are some tangible things that people can do if like today?
Okay, so meditation is one.
Yep.
Um, Doing some journaling. If meditation is so hard, then like it's not hard, but people find it to be difficult to do it consistently. Then having some type of a morning ritual. You light a candle, you journal, or you write a candle, and you read a chapter of a spiritual book or Bible, or something of your faith. That's okay. Like just having the quiet moment. That's number one. Working with someone who can mentor you and coach you and teach you is another. You did research locally. There are spiritual learning centers. Like maybe it's a Buddhist temple or a Buddhist information session, or there's some like spiritual places, not necessarily religious places, but there are usually organizations that offer seminars and education locally and online. So you could do that. Working one-on-one with a mentor, coach, or healer is a powerful way, and it kind of bypasses a lot of bullshit. But that may be the most scary way, and it requires more investment. But that's a way. Reading books. There are certain books. I think I just started reading a couple of years ago, and I could not get into it. I just couldn't. I even gave up the book. I said, I'm never going to read this book. But then one day I read it, but in an audiobook. So I just finished Untethered Soul.
Oh, yay. Yeah.
See, some people love that book. I could not read it, but when you listen to it, it's actually, I just finished listening to Untethered Soul. So that book was really powerful in really talking about oneness. Any of those spiritual books that, self-development and books, but there definitely many books around kind of connecting to your intuition and oneness, and find like Wayne Dyer. Like if you go to hayhouse.com, there are plenty of books and webinars and things like that. So those are some tangible things.
Cool. That's awesome. And you came back from Korea recently on a spiritual journey of sorts. I was following you on Facebook, seeing all of your amazing travels, and the pictures were beautiful. And you talked about going hiking by yourself, and your phone started playing a song. And so I was talking with Heather about this the other day. I was like, we're trying, what's the song? Oh, Welcome to the Jungle, So can you talk a little bit about that? Like in that moment, what were you looking for and what did you find?
In terms of that hiking moment or just whole trip?
Well, yeah, it can be the hiking moment or
okay, so I'll just share. So I'm a coach, and then I went through this shamanic training and started doing shamanic healing. I started experiencing really powerful, magical stuff. So then I started kind of questioning, oh my God, what does this mean? Like, am I a coach? Am I a healer and shaman? Like, what am I supposed to do? Do I need to stop this coaching business and focus on healing? Or and I got stopped. So I received stop. Just help people, we bring you. That's literally what I got. Like, stop. Just help people, we bring you, not I, right? So we, as in my mind, my spirit guides, I said, we're going to bring you someone and help them. So then I said, oh, okay. So then if they are brought up to me and they need coaching, I coach. They need healing, they heal. But what I found, that is all combination of it. We'll be coaching and be like, ooh, we just uncovered something. Next session will be healing. And then, once we do the healing, we clear that. So then we move on with coaching. So that's been my journey. So that alone has been really powerful growth and evolvement for me. And then I started getting, and now that you completed your training as a shaman, shamanic healing that came from ancient Incan tribes. So this is an American shamanism, not USA, but American continent, Peruvian, Incan inspired shamanism. So I heard, now that you completed this, you're a Korean shaman. So now go ahead and look up Korean shamanism and study Korean shaman. And I'm like, what? But usually that kind of clarity just happens. So this Korea trip, my intention was, I've done some research, I've got some clarity on my own here, but connecting with that land, my ancient, like the land of my ancestry, that where I came from and where my biological ancestors came from, I knew that will be in a way powerful. So my intention for the trip is, I'm excited to connect and open myself up for whatever comes. But I was very, very careful not be so attached to it. Oh my God, I wish I found, I didn't go with this intention. When I go, all these things better happen. When you are that kind of attachment happens, it could really mess with your manifesting what you want. My intention was clear. I want to go to Korea. It's a vacation, so I want to have a great time with my vacation. But it will be great if I got some clarity around that. But I'm open. I'm just going open. So I did a lot of meditative work with that intention, and then went and ended up meeting someone who is a Korean shaman who does things in a very unconventional way, but that according to Korean tradition, but her way is actually my way in the work I do. So it was just very magical. I didn't know this person, but someone introduced someone and it just kind of happened, and I went to see her. And she's basically a coach that receive intuition and help you. So basically I was guided to a mentor. So I was able to find a mentor who's in Korea that I felt very aligned. She gave me a lot of validation and peace, so that I came back with this in the clarity and peace of mind of I'm on the right track. And I also met someone who I'm going to help him write a book around Korean shamanism for American audience. So all these things that I didn't expect did happen. But because those were so exciting, I guess I was feeling a little, oh my God, this magic, this great things. I feel like I really needed to ground myself. So I felt the need to go hiking on my own. I received sometimes messages come as a conversation like just help who we bring you. It could be as clear. Sometimes it feels like my idea. I really feel like I need to go hike a mountain. And I really feel like I should go alone. And you could check in, right? Right. Like sometimes the inspiration comes like it's my own thought because it's my higher self, maybe. I went and did the mountain. And to me, that was kind of grounding myself with the nature. Also, one of the Korean shamanic god that connects with me a lot is called Mountain Grandfather Spirit. So it was my way of connecting with that spirit and just kind of walking. And to me, the music playing out of the blue out of phone was just a validation. Good job. Like to me, it was like validation and not from my guides. Okay, good job. Like all these things happen. You still came and like grounded yourself to the nature and connected with us. So we heard you. We're with you. So to me, that was a little check mark. So that gave me. So as I move through this, my understanding is surrender and trust.
Yeah, I love it. Surrender and trust. That is a wonderful way to end our conversation. So that's if people want to hold on to something, those two words are very important.
Oh, good. Thank you. I know I kind of went all over the place, but hopefully this was entertaining at least.
This
Thanks
was
for watching
beautiful.
us.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to do this with me today.
No, thank you for inviting me. This was so much fun.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So I just want to tell everyone that if you have any questions for CEO, we do have that Facebook group that you can ask questions at, but you can also go to her website, couragetobe.com. And there you can learn more about what she's doing and read her blogs, articles. They're beautiful. So I encourage you to do that. And yeah, so thank you so very much again for being here. I really, really appreciate you. And love and light to everyone. And thank you guys for being here. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Still recording.